Thank you to the foundation and also to my family and friends that are here tonight. Receiving an Alumni Award gives a whole meaning to seeing your life pass before your eyes, as you've just seen. How did a shy little girl from Moorhead with a passion for interior design graduate from NDSU and end up living in Shanghai, China with a license to work there, and then advise the Chinese government on how to design their Beijing railway control room? It amazes even me, that trajectory. I think I can describe my path in about 4 words, and I've come up with these. My drivers were education, Viking spirit, exposure, and remaining true to my roots. Education. When I was in 8th grade, my 8th grade teacher taught a very short unit on interior design because she loved it. And we all got an assignment. We got about 30 items that we were supposed to find pictures of. Things like split complementary color scheme. And I loved this. I searched for the very perfect picture and turned in my assignment and got 100%. And I remember one of my friends saying, but wait a minute, I had all the pictures. And Mrs. Herstad said, no, Sandy had them all right. And she was going to be here tonight, but her husband was having surgery. That would have been fun to have her here. I quickly learned, as I got interested in interior design, I quickly learned that NDSU had a program. And even in high school, I decided that's what I'm going to do. I never had any other interest, any other major. I was interior design 100%. My interior design degree from NDSU has been my ticket to every position I've had. It was a requirement. And about 20 years later, I went back to school and got my MBA from the University of Minnesota Carlson School of Management. And it was in marketing and management. And now I became equal, creative and logical, creative and business. I had to do both. The second thing, my Viking spirit. I have a need for adventure and exploration. It's kind of in my DNA, and I can show you this. I worked in 7 major cities: Houston, Denver, Dallas, Minneapolis, St. Louis, Hong Kong, and Shanghai. I have worked for 4 of the top 6 interior design firms. Number 1, Gensler in Shanghai. Number 3, AECOM and Ellerby Beckett in Minneapolis. Number 5, Perkins & Will in Shanghai. And number 6, HOK in both St. Louis and Hong Kong. I've worked for 3 Hall of Fame designers, all of them very different from each other, but I learned a lot from all of them. And I've had projects in 7 countries in this order: United States, Australia, Indonesia, China, Singapore, India, and Japan. I've personally traveled to 40 countries. So you can see, it's kind of in my DNA. When a door opened, I usually went through it. When they assigned projects, I usually got the most distant one, the most difficult client, the newest project type. And if they didn't assign it to me, I usually volunteered, as I just loved every part of my interior design degree. The third thing I wanted to talk about is exposure. Creative people need exposure to ideas, people, place, things. And we developed this library of ideas, and we pull from that. And I really believe that creative people are rarely lonely. We study everywhere we go. How would I do that? Why did they do it that way? I would do it this way. And it keeps us very busy. I was telling the students yesterday that I probably know what I would do to this room because I study it. I can explain this. I can tell you the story in really 2 projects about how exposure really changed the way I did the design, and it led to very successful results. One of those projects is an HP project I did with Ellerby Beckett. It was 360,000 square feet, and I was the interior design director. I was on from the time it was a blank piece of land until the building was built. About 3 years, I think I said that. Here they built gas and liquid chromatographs. These are the machines that test drugs down to parts per billion. And I spent a lot of time out there. The thing that frightened me the most is I had never done laboratories before, so I spent a lot of time talking to the lab people. And I asked them, why don't you ever have windows, natural light? And I said, we just never get that space. So I located them on interior courtyard with natural light. And then looking at them, they had all the machines on the front of the benches, the gases behind, and the gauges for those gases behind run horizontally. And I said, why aren't those gauges on the front? You have to go from the front to the back, to the front to the back. I said, it's just not done that way. It's too much equipment on the front. I said, well, what if we put those gauges in a vertical tower and put them on the front? We sketched it. HP made a prototype. We tested it. It worked, and we did it that way. And at the end of all this, the lab consultant said, Sandy, you should submit this to Lab of the Year, R&D Magazine Lab of the Year. I thought, my first lab project? So I went to my boss and I said, I need $10,000. I need to photograph this, submit it to the magazine. He said, Sandy, you've worked really hard. Go ahead and do that. But you're not going to win because this is not our forte. Many lab consultants do this all day, every day. You're not going to win. But we did win. Because we did it different. We didn't know the rules. We didn't follow the rules, and we won. Another project like this where I think exposure led to different results is a Ginzer project for Dow Chemical in Shanghai. It was their Shanghai the China campus. It was 760,000 square feet. And I heard about it from a friend, and she said, we turned it down. It's way too big for us. And I thought, in the Ginzer network, I should be able to do this. I'm going to enter a competition. We entered late, and I had a very small team. My department was just starting. We had to render 7 different areas. I divided them up. We rendered them. I had Dow Chemical as my client when I was in Minneapolis, so I knew how to talk Dow speak. So I went in there, and we won. I worked on that project for 2.5 years with my team. And at the end of that, I thought, Ginzer has an annual award. This is the largest design firm in the world, and internationally, they give an award to one project per year, and that is judged by outside design professionals. So I thought, well, we're just going to show up with this project. I'm going to enter it, and we'll show up. And we won. And the reason we won is the judges said all of the other Ginzer projects looked exactly alike, were from the same mold. This one was different. And I think that explains exposure. You have this library, you pull from a different idea and produce something else. It's very important, powerful. For 5 years, Professor Ray Diggs and I organized an internship for students in Shanghai. So 2 interior design students would come over every year, and we would work in the office. They would work in our office, and we would also help them a bit with their senior projects. I would take them on what I called my Shanghai Chamber of Commerce tours. And we would we do hotels, we do retail, we do markets. I'd take them to other design firms, we'd go on city tours, as much as I could fit in, because I thought this exposure will make them better designers. We always went to Beijing, we always went to the Great Wall and the Forbidden City. This was part of the program. And one day, my business partner, Chris, said, Sandy, why are the American kids so much more creative than the Chinese young designers we have? And I said, again, I think this all comes down to exposure. It's opportunity to do creative things. The Chinese students will be in a classroom of 60, and they will often hand them a drawing. In order to control 60 kids, you hand them a drawing and you say, copy this. Or you hand them a poem and you say, memorize this. But the American students are in classrooms of 30. They're handed a blank sheet of paper and some color crayons and say, draw what you did for your summer vacation. Or, this is how poetry works, now write a poem. And over the years, you get very different kinds of students and young people. It's changing now, but I think this is an explanation, exposure to opportunities to be creative. If you give a young Chinese designer a blank floor plan and a program, they have a very hard time starting because they haven't done that. But you get them started, they can do it too. So these internship programs were win-win for everyone, I think for the Americans and for the Chinese. Last thing I want to talk about is my roots. Wherever I went, Fargo-Moorhead was still my home. My parents were here, my siblings were here, I had many aunts and uncles. I have 38 cousins, some of them are here tonight. I usually made every family reunion, guys. I had neighborhood friends, some of them are here tonight. I had high school friends, I usually made every high school class reunion, I think I missed one. I had college friends, sorority friends, some of them are here tonight. I had connections with university, particularly Professor Susan Ray Diggs. And I had connections with my hometown church. No matter where I went, my tether was back to Fargo. So in summary, I guess one other thing I want to say is I always knew if I failed in some of these risks I was taking, I could go home. I could always go home. I never did, but I could. In summary, it's really education, my Viking spirit, exposure, and remaining true to my roots. That pretty much describes me. In closing, I want to dedicate this award to my dad, Sandra Strand, who was a long-time legendary coach in Moorhead. He believed that I could do anything I set my mind to, and that was powerful. I think he's watching from the coach's bench on high and smiling tonight. Many people could have and should have been here tonight in my place. I honestly believe that, but I am honored, privileged, and grateful for this award. Thank you very much.